Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us on the Rochester Press Box. Bill Pucko with you, along with Tariq Spence, as usual. Hey, Tariq.
Good to have time to get in some sports because there's been a lot of stuff in the last 7 days.
It's getting close. And in for Pat Duffy this week, who's dealing with some family issues. We certainly wish Pat the best. We miss him here. But in lieu of that, we found the best guy available out there, Kevin Oklobzija. Welcome back, man.
Great to be here. I should have worn a jersey. I guess since I'm substituting for Duffy, I should have had the fanboy outfit and everything. Sorry.
Well, since you know, we generally ask Pat about his attire. What do you got behind you there? What are you doing behind you?
Just my workspace.
Obviously, put some care there.
The photo in the background there is of the great cigar in the '95 Breeders' Cup Classic, sloshing along to victory.
Oh, and I see one of those the Sports Writer Award up there too.
We'll hide that. Tighter shot, please.
Very nice. Shot. Kevin, let's start talking some baseball. Look, they have a plan. It looks like it's gonna go ahead with a 60-game season. What are some of your initial reactions to what was laid out there?
I'm amazed and dumbfounded that it took so long for them to finally agree to a deal. I mean, only baseball can screw up something so drastically. However, as you said, they finally have a deal. They're ready to go. I understand a lot of the rule changes. I like the no DH. Let's just get rid of it and move on. It's stupid to have one league playing with the DH and the other league pretending that pitchers can hit. They can't. So let's move on. There's 4 that can, and the rest it's a joke. I hate the runner at second base. I understand you have to do it because nobody has enough arms to get through this. Nobody's going to be in shape. Nobody's ready to pitch more than whatever. So you're going to have, a way to make sure games don't go 14 innings.
Yeah, well, look, a lot of people haven't seen that, Kevin. Explain what the rule is.
So we go to the 10th inning, and the team at bat automatically starts with a runner at second base. As Doug Glanville on ESPN this morning, earlier this week, he called it the magic double. Suddenly, there's just a guy on second. All right, you bunt him over to third, fly ball, you score a run. Maybe, if that's how it works. It's worked. I think about 70% of games in the minor leagues that have used this rule, 70% of the games now end in an inning. So it accomplishes what they want to do. They save arms on pitchers, and they don't have these games drag out for 18 innings. But I don't know. Sometimes I like a long baseball game that can be exciting as well. One team scores 3, the other team scores 3. It can still happen. Believe me, I'm hoping it does. I'm hoping they go through bullpens and there's nobody left to pitch because of this rule.
Hey, Tariq, the other big rule change that I think we're going to see on a more permanent basis is that whole thing of the pitchers have to face a minimum of 3 batters. That's like flying under the radar. That's a major change, I think.
Well, think about it this way: you don't want to run out of pitchers. That's the other thing too. You don't have your specialists anymore, and if they are specialists, they better be able to get a couple batters out in key situations. I think the interesting part about baseball is the fact that you're not going to have it at 4th of July, which is just it's dumbfounding to me. Why Kevin talked about this earlier? It took so long. We could have gotten to spring training and then gotten games starting on 4th of July. You would have had the biggest audience possible, seeing as you can't have barely any fans in the stands anyway. But, I like the DH thing. I think it's time, but this is an exploratory year. You can't really go with the same traditional baseball you've had before. Any crazy, kooky idea that you had, put it in 60 games, find out what happens, and see if we can make this more of a March Madness type of baseball tournament to see who stands at the end.
Kevin, I agree. I like the idea of do what you can right now. That's a good point. It's 60 games. Let's see what you can do. But I wanted to bring up the one thing. Earlier this week was the anniversary of the greatest game ever by a pitcher. June 23rd, 1971, and the New York Post did an item on this. Rick Wise threw a no-hitter against the Big Red Machine, the Cincinnati Reds, and hit 2 home runs. So there's one guy out there saying, let pitchers hit. He's the only one.
Yeah, Kevin, I want to just dust on one thing. Hockey guy that you are, everyone knows, big-time hockey guy. When the NHL had that 50-game season during a work stoppage, I found the games really compelling that year. I thought it was a good year for hockey. Will baseball be able to accomplish the same thing with a 60-game schedule?
In some ways, they're playing they're only playing their division and then the division across from them. So the AL East plays the NL East, and that's it. I'd like to see more variety, but I get it. You can't. So they're doing what they can. And yes, every game will matter. Now, if Mike Trout gets hurt, Aaron Judge gets hurt, how could he not? whatever the case may be, you miss 2 weeks. That's almost a quarter of the season. I mean,
get hurt or get sick.
Yeah,
right?
Well,
Yeah,
very good point.
COVID.
And guys are obviously going to contract this.
And when they get it too, so say for example they get it early, they come back and they need a star player, or if they get it late and they miss the playoffs. I mean,
And not only that, but how do they, the contact tracing that's going on in real life? Do you take everybody out of the lineup then? I mean, I don't know how they proceed once a guy tests positive.
Tariq, last thing. I mean, a lot of things have to go right for this to work, don't you think?
Not only do they have to go right, you have to have. Remember, we're dealing with a lot of different states that have high numbers now. So it's and I'll cover this a little bit later on Unfinished Business with NBA. What if you're running into a place where the numbers haven't gone down, they've gone up, and what do you do with those sort of games? So it's a very scary moment, but I don't want us to be trapped in fear and not do anything and cancel the season. Let's see what we can do for as long as we can do it, and take it from there and have some sort of sport.
All right, this is the Rochester Press Box. Bill Pucko, Tariq Spence, Kevin Oklobzija. We'll be back talking Buffalo Bills next.
Original Bay Goodman Pizza, located on the corner of North Winton at Browncroft. There are 3 ways to get the original Bay & Goodman delivery. Go to baygoodman.com.
Thanks for joining us. Welcome back. Bill Pucko, Tariq Spence, Kevin Oklobzija, Rochester Press Box. Let's talk Buffalo Bills, Tariq. We're looking at a training camp that's going to be affected by a lot of the issues we discussed in the first segment about, baseball. How do you feel the Bills are positioned to get things going when camps open in late July? Like everything is going to be late July.
Well, football, we all know, full contact sport. I mean, we're talking guys on top of guys all the time. So this is going to be a little bit trickier. Baseball, you can have a little bit of social distancing, but with football, it's all contact all the time. I think they're going to have to take the blueprint of baseball and really expand it a little bit more. Maybe running shifts 2 days probably are not going to happen. Guys are going to get hurt. Guys are going to be out of shape. There's a difference between being in shape and football shape. I'm really bummed out the fact that we can't see it, obviously, training camp at St. John Fisher. They're going to be at One Bills Drive. They may even cut down a preseason, which I'm sure the players would love to see the games go down from 4 games to 2 games anyway. But this is the sport. College football is in a tough spot too. We're still not sure about college campuses yet. So right now, the NFL, if it's on track, especially in Western New York, where the numbers are going down and we're supposed to be going into phase 4 or in phase 4 by this time, the Bills are in a great spot because it looks like they can bring people in and not have to worry about as much as maybe Florida or Texas or California, where the numbers are going up for COVID.
And a couple things too, Tariq. We talked about it last week, the continuity factor about this team being best statistically in the league. And they have all their rookies signed. They were the second team to get their entire draft class signed. Those things have to help them.
I think it does. I think it gets everybody in the building. This is a big year for Josh Allen. Everybody knows that. It's a big year for the Bills organization for that next leap forward to making the playoffs. We talk about it all the time. Duffy always gets a little bit nervous when we talk about the expectation of the Bills because he's worried that by the time they actually get good, we would run into a situation like this where we're not even sure football is going to take place. So I am optimistic for the Bills, but we've got to get there. We're not there yet. We're about a month off. We have to get to camp, assess where we are with COVID, assess where people are in different spots, and it's going to hurt other teams. I'm telling you, if they're not in phase 2 or 3 or whatever phase they're in, it's going to hurt the continuity of other teams and help the Bills' continuity for the start of the season.
Kevin, I thought that when we look
at the Bills do well, because of that continuity and the kind of the advantages they have right there now, if the Bills do well and other teams, that maybe they lose a couple star players because of COVID and whatever, does it count? Like, will this be a big asterisk on the season? Well, yeah, the Bills finally did something, but
no, I'll step in for Duffy and just assume his yes, it will all count because it's official and everybody's going through similar situations, and we'll take it because they've been waiting so many decades to get to this point of being relevant and good in the AFC, and they should go far.
Kevin, we were getting into the whole thing like the one sport was going to benefit by learning from another. There was someone who's going to start and lay the groundwork, and everyone's going to learn by that. But the way we've got it right now, I mean, baseball, hockey, basketball, and football all starting at the same time. It's like jumping into an ice-cold pool and having no way to gauge it.
And I'll be honest, I get it. I understand. This proves how big the TV money is in the NBA and the NHL. Why don't they just bag it? Like, just start your season in December or whatever it is once things have cleared out. But no, they're going to try and jam this Stanley Cup playoff and the NBA Finals and playoffs into this month and a half, 2 months, whatever it might be.
Well, the money really matters. I just kind of get that. This is the Rochester Press Box. Bill Pucko, Tariq Spence, and Kevin Oklobzija, like it or not, is next. Here's the Press Box trivia question, brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390. Here's the Press Box trivia answer, brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us on the Rochester Press Box. Like it or not, Kevin, the idea of dealing with these athletes who are actually now contracting COVID-19.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out, like, it appears that those, the athletes who are young and fit and in the prime of their athletic careers doesn't seem to have a major impact on them. The key and the concern through all this, this pandemic has been when you come in contact with someone who is vulnerable and could spread, the COVID-19 to someone, and then it has devastating effects on them. But now that you're going to have the athletes all together, spread would seemingly be to another or person who's in great shape, and the effects seemingly, it appears so far from athletes that have contracted the disease, have been pretty minimal, and thank goodness for that.
Tariq, do you think you deal with these guys like they, for 2 weeks like they have a knee sprain? I know a knee sprain's not contagious, but do the sports teams kind of have to look at it like, this is just bad luck?
Yeah, I think you have to, and you do the best you can to keep your surfaces clean, the places clean, testing everybody, staff, coaches. I know in baseball they're going to test everybody every other day. For athletes, you got to have 2 negative tests. I mean, I think baseball's setting a blueprint for what other sports are going to do, but there's no perfect way. I mean, these guys are going to be around each other all the time. They're supposed to be in a bubble for the NBA. Who knows if that's going to work? This is all, a test run. Every sport that gets back into their sport is going to have a test run, and it's not going to go well. You're going to have athletes that are going to have that. Here's Novak Djokovic, who's a tennis player. There's nothing more social distancing in that, and he's got it. So, I mean, it's a rough situation knowing full well that the athletes will recover in 2 weeks, but it isn't about that. It's who they come in contact with.
How about baseball players? They're trying to break the habit of spitting.
No, good luck with that.
Right. Now, so it is such a habit, and it's just common. It's just what it's been something they've done for 20 years, some of them, or 15 years, whether it's sunflower seeds or tobacco or gum, whatever it is. Now, all right, you spit on the outfield grass, a guy runs through that. Now you take off your spikes after the game. Somebody cleans them. I don't know. The chances of transmission, there's just so many different areas.
That they think that spitting is the hardest thing for them to give up, I think, says more about the game, and it's not good. Hey, Tariq, this is related. Like it or not, Avery Bradley opting out of the bubble in Orlando.
I like it. Avery Bradley made his concerns known full well when Kyrie Irving made the comment about players shouldn't go back and play. We should concentrate on social issues. That wasn't specifically his point, but he cited the reason his family for doing so, and that's fine. I have no problem with that. I have no problem with any player that decides they want to opt out, whether it's health reasons, family reasons, social justice reasons. That doesn't really bother me at all. I think what's interesting here is what Kyrie Irving revealed is there are some players that weren't heard or felt that they weren't heard about this sort of bubble season. And as I get to unfinished business, there is now a more of a concern going on for where the games are going to be played in this so-called bubble. But I'm good with him opting out for whatever reason. Trevor Ariza said the same thing. He wants to spend more time with his family, with his child, and doesn't see the need to do it. The Trailblazers weren't a contender anyway. Bradley was, though, with the Lakers. That's going to be interesting. So we'll wait and see if there's other players that have that option to do so. But they should have done it by now if they're not going to go.
All right, you said it. Unfinished business is next.
And now to Eichel. He floated one.
Welcome back, and thanks for joining us on the Rochester Press Box. It's time for Unfinished Business. Let's go to Kevin Oklobzija first.
So last weekend we saw the Belmont Stakes and 'Tis the Law show and flaunt his class and ability, perhaps on his way to a Triple Crown, whatever that might mean this year, in a strange, drawn-out year where it's the Belmont, the Kentucky Derby, and the Preakness over 3 months. But we also saw Reylu Gutierrez ride in the Derby, or in the Belmont. Didn't do well. His horse had no chance, and he protected the horse and, eased down the stretch. But this is a kid who grew up, went to high school in Victor, grew up at Finger Lakes Racetrack, and now on the big stage is showing, you know what? This kid's got some ability. His father was a trainer and is a trainer at Finger Lakes Racetrack, Luis Gutierrez. His uncle, Jose Gutierrez, rode there for many, many years and talked him into pursuing a career as a jockey. Went to Cortland State, got his degree. Now he's going to pursue this thing in riding and give the jockey career a chance. He's making a little bit of an impact, which is nice to see that someone from Finger Lakes on the rider side of the world is making a little impact on the national stage.
For the NBA, they've made their decision. It took a while, but now we know exactly where their games are going to be played. In a bubble in Orlando, where they would be in Florida. The problem here is the fact that Florida's numbers for COVID-19 are continuing to go up. I hope the NBA has a second location, or third or fourth, or possibly play games outdoors. There you go. It is summer, and the best way to sort of avoid situations would be avoiding indoor places and getting outdoors. Pick up basketball, NBA, it would be something totally different. And for the players that decide not to go, that's fine. Whatever reason you may have, whether it's social justice, family, health concerns, rehabbing, I'm good with it. A little basketball would be great to wrap up the season. If it doesn't happen, that's fine too. NBA, you have a great opportunity to restart your schedule on Christmas Day. That should give us all enough time to get ready for a full season and not the half season we've been getting.
NASCAR is a bit of a cultural phenomenon. It was born in the South. It is run largely in the South. It embraces all that the South is about, both good and bad. One thing you don't expect from NASCAR is to take a lead in social justice and social involvement and the Black Lives Matter movement. But this was really quite a week for NASCAR. First, they start off by banning the Confederate flag. And then secondly, Bubba Wallace's garage has a noose in it. Well, the symbolism there is pretty clear. There's an investigation. The FBI got involved. The FBI determined that there was no hate crime there. But what's important was the reaction to it and how all the other drivers, everyone else associated with NASCAR at the Talladega track and the race that was run Monday, gathered around Bubba Wallace and expressed a solidarity with him marching onto that track that I can find only one historical comparison to. And that happened in 1947. When Jackie Robinson was a rookie breaking in with the Brooklyn Dodgers, the then Brooklyn Dodgers, playing their first road trip and a game in Cincinnati. Now remember, Jackie Robinson's breaking the color barrier, and this wasn't a widely accepted idea back then. There's a road game in Cincinnati, and the fans are giving him a very rough time. He's playing first base. Pee Wee Reese is the Brooklyn shortstop. Reese crosses the diamond and goes over there to have a conversation with Jackie Robinson and puts his arm around Jackie. Reese is from Kentucky, southern Kentucky. He is one of those Southerners who represents all that the South is, good and bad. But that symbolic moment meant a lot. And whether it's entirely true or not is under some question. But the fact is that just like the NASCAR event, it stands for what it stands. You know, baseball was late arriving at the game of life. And so was NASCAR for that matter. But what makes this all the more significant is that they both did finally get there. That is Unfinished Business, and that is our show. Tariq, Kevin, thank you very much. Nice job.
Thank you, as always. Forward to that.
All righty. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week with the Rochester Press Box.